All right, so for years, we've basically treated AI like a super smart search engine. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. But what if it could do more? What if it could actually take your goals and run with them? Well, that shift isn't coming, it's already here. And it's called the agentic era. Today, we're going to do a full 360-degree briefing on what this really means for all of us. So what exactly is agentic AI? Let's break it down. It's kind of like the difference between using a calculator and hiring an accountant. A calculator just answers the specific problem you give it. But an accountant, you give them a goal, like, hey, sort out my finances, and they'll create a whole strategy and then go and execute it. That is the massive leap we're talking about here. We're going from a passive tool to a genuinely proactive partner. Okay, so that's the big idea, right? But what does this new era actually look like in the real world? Let's get into it. We're going to explore the startups that are building this future right now, the serious security challenges we absolutely can't ignore, and some of the mind-bending research that is pushing the very limits of what we thought was possible. First up, let's talk about the builders. There's this whole wave of startups forging this new frontier as we speak, and they're giving us the first real, tangible look at what this agentic future holds. Take a look at Strix agents. The old way of doing app security involved a human analyst manually and kind of slowly hunting for security holes. The new way? Well, Strix unleashes a team of autonomous AI hackers that are constantly probing and testing your apps 24/7 to find those weak spots long before any real attacker does. Then you've got something like Software AI Co-Builder. This is where the AI becomes your creative partner, your co-pilot. You describe the business app you're imagining, maybe an internal dashboard or portal for your clients, and the AI agent doesn't just spit out a bunch of code. No, it actively works with you, step by step, to build the whole thing. And it's not just about security or business logic. On the creative front, you have Shuffle AI, which really shows off the design power of these agents. It's a simple extension that can look at literally any website, and then, using the top AI models, just completely redesign it. It's essentially an autonomous designer, working to make things better looking and more functional. Okay, so all this new power is incredible, right? But, and there's always a but, with any massive technological leap, you get growing pains. Giving AI this much autonomy means we have to face some really serious questions about security and, maybe most importantly, about trust. And that whole trust thing, it's a huge deal. Check this out. A recent Stanford study found this massive gap in perception. The AI experts who are actually building these systems, they're largely optimistic about where this is all going. But the general public? Yeah, significantly less so. And bridging that gap is maybe the biggest challenge of all. This lack of trust isn't just a feeling. It's rooted in some very real threats. One of the scariest is called indirect prompt injection. Here's how it works, in simple terms. An attacker hides some malicious instructions on a website. Then your helpful AI agent goes to that page to summarize it for you, and it accidentally picks up and runs those hidden commands. Just like that, it could start leaking your private data. But the good news is the security community is fighting back. We're already seeing new defenses pop up. You've got frameworks like ClawGuard, which is basically being designed as a firewall for AI agents. And then there are tools like Redshell, which actually use AI to think like a hacker, so they can find the security holes before the bad guys do. But you know what? There's a challenge here that goes even deeper than security. It's about truth. This quote really nails it. It's basically saying that the biggest hurdle for AI isn't just finding information, it's knowing the quality of that information. That's what epistemic fidelity means. Can the AI tell the difference between a hard fact and some nonsense it found online? Because if it can't, an autonomous agent acting on bad info, well, that could be a disaster. So, with those huge challenges in mind, where do we go from here? Well, let's take a look at the bleeding edge of research, where scientists are pushing the absolute boundaries of what agentic AI can do. This is where it gets really wild. Take a look at this number, 11. It doesn't look like much, does it? But this is huge. This number represents 11 new breakthroughs on major unsolved math problems. And get this, they weren't solved by one person or even one AI. They were solved by a whole team of AI agents on a platform called EinsteinArena, all collaborating and sometimes even competing with each other to push science forward. Researchers are also tackling that truth problem, AI hallucinations, head-on. And a system called DreamKG is a fantastic example. So instead of letting an AI wander the wild, messy internet for answers,
DreamKG grounds it in a verified, fact-checked knowledge graph. And the goal is incredibly important, to provide life-saving, 100% accurate information for people experiencing homelessness. This is an area where you simply cannot afford to be wrong.
And this stuff isn't just living in the cloud, it's moving into the physical world. At MIT, researchers are creating new ways for human divers and autonomous underwater drones to actually team up. The AI agent here isn't just a tool the diver is using, it's a real partner on a complex mission in a constantly changing environment. Okay, so let's zoom out for a minute, because none of this, not the startups, the security fixes, the research, none of it happens in a vacuum. It is all being built on top of a massive foundation. So let's look at the digital and physical infrastructure that makes this whole agentic era possible. On the digital side, you've got the tech giants laying the groundwork. Amazon Web Services, for example, just made a new agent-building toolkit available to everyone. This is a game changer, because it's like they're handing out the core plumbing, making it way easier for any organization to start building and deploying their own custom AI agents at scale. But all this digital magic has a massive physical footprint. And this is pretty surprising. A Pew Research finding shows that our hunger for AI computing power is literally reshaping the American landscape. Most of the new data centers, the physical brains of the AI world, they're not going up in Silicon Valley anymore. They're being built in rural areas all across the country. And all of this brings us to the final, critical question that's hanging over this entire era. We've seen the incredible power, the potential, and the very real peril. As these AI agents evolve from simple tools into active partners in our world, the ultimate challenge isn't technical, it's human. How do we make sure that these incredibly powerful new agents stay aligned not just with our tasks, but with our values?